But first, I want to start the show with some exclusive news related to our fact-checking investigation here at Sky News. Now, you might know that there is a group of fact-checkers at RMIT FactLab who have been censoring debate around The Voice. After we exposed them, they were blocked out of Facebook systems pending an investigation.
The tech giant Meta has suspended RMIT as a fact-checker on Facebook.
Well, tonight we can reveal the body has silently deleted a fact-check which said it was false to question a statistic which alleged 83% of Indigenous Australians supported The Voice. The fact-checker in this situation was Renee Davidson, the same woman who called opposition leader Peter Dutton a fear-mongering racist. RMIT FactLab targeted this Indigenous woman in the fact-check, Cindy Roberts, who said the YouGov poll, which polled around 738 people who identified as Aboriginal, was not representative of the real situation on the ground.
The majority of my people have not been consulted in regard to this voice to Parliament.
Well, she is right. There are far more than 738 Indigenous people across Australia, and that figure is far below the accepted industry standards for sample sizes. Normally, anything under 1,000 respondents is disregarded as unreliable in elections. But also, the ABC showed us some great analysis of how the voice support has steadily been dropping over time. Now, you can see here clearly that in April, when the Indigenous polling came out, the general Australian populace was in favour of the voice. And that figure has been steadily dropping, meaning the YouGov poll is dramatically out of date and has far too small a sample size to be used in any meaningful way. Despite all of this publicly available evidence, RMIT attacked this Indigenous woman for saying the poll was essentially useless and didn't match up with what she was seeing on the ground in her community. False. The statistic showing 83% support for the yes vote resulted from a March 2023 YouGov poll of 738 people who identified as being Indigenous. Opinion polls only ever survey a sample of the target population. They also put a giant red cross on her face and called her fake news. Appalling stuff. Now that fact check is egregious. It's blatantly false and just another clear example of no opinions being targeted by activists seeking to influence our referendum. And even worse, the university just did all of this quietly. No public statement of remorse, no explanation. A powerful institution with no accountability, which is seeking to control the national discourse. Well, joining me on the panel this week is the Australian's media writer, Sophie Ellsworth, and the Daily Telegraph's Tim Blair. Now, Sophie, they've censored an Indigenous woman explaining what her community was feeling about The Voice. They put a giant red cross on her. It's no wonder they've had to delete this.
Jack, this is absolutely disgraceful, but can I just firstly point out, you've exposed the RMIT FactLab and exposed all the flaws with it, so I commend you on your reporting on that. But this is where the FactLab has done itself immense harm. It's actually been shown to really be a partisan outfit, as you've shown from the tweets from their staff, from the fact-checking that they do. They have an agenda here, and they're making that agenda very clear. I mean, most of the fact-checking they do, pretty much all of it is on the no side and not on the yes side, and pretty much every time they say the no side is wrong. So I think this is very problematic. Their credibility has been severely damaged, and I don't know how they can repair it now, Jack.
Yeah, and Tim, what's it to anybody if an Indigenous woman wants to say, I think that polling sample size is irrelevant? Why is that something that fact checkers would weigh in? Whatever happened to lived experience?
Oh, no, it doesn't count in the world of Fact Lab. By the way, I love the title Fact Lab. It's like, yeah, we've got to claim fact quickly to the lab. And presumably there are people in white coats. Well, there should be people in white coats there. And, they're running things through, mass spectrometers and various other measurement devices. This is testing false. It's like, it'll be like one of those crappy crime scenes from, an American crime sort of a show, and except at the end of it, they come up with a bunch of things that are wrong.
Yeah, well, it's crazy. I mean, Sophie, the problem that we've got though with this whole fact-checking ecosystem is that just everyday people who aren't necessarily aspiring to be politicians, they're what I like to think of as water cooler conversations are being policed.
Jack, this is frightening when the fact check is basically fact checking people's opinions as well, as you point out. Aren't we allowed to speak freely? But as I have said all along and in my reporting, it's really clear the fact check units at the RMIT have agendas here. And they've shown that in their tweets, they've shown their biases, they've shown that they're partisan. And now, as we know, the relationship with Meta and them has been suspended for now because of their licensing issues. Jack, this is a giant problem for them, and I really wonder, how are they going to redeem themselves?
Yeah, I wonder as well. We did ask RMIT to explain where the fact check went because they didn't tell anybody. It just disappeared off the internet, but we didn't hear back by the time we filmed tonight.